The Story of Andrei Chikatilo. This story is horrifying. Let's find out. Andrei Chikatilo, also known as the Butcher of Rostov, was a Soviet serial killer who committed at least 52 murders between 1978 and 1990 in various parts of the Soviet Union. Chikatilo was born in 1936 in Ukraine, and his childhood was marked by poverty and abuse. He had a difficult relationship with his mother, who was overprotective and religiously strict and was frequently bullied by his peers. For today's video, we're going to be explaining his story in detail. So without further ado, let's start this video. Early life and childhood. On October 16, 1936, in Yabloknoy, a hamlet in the center of rural Ukraine in the USSR, Andrei Romanovich Chikatilo was born. Ukraine was referred to be the breadbasket of the Soviet Union throughout the 1930s. Stalin's agricultural collectivization programs resulted in tremendous misery and hunger that wiped off the majority of the people. Chikatilo's early years were affected by poverty since the impacts of the famine were still being felt extensively at the time of his birth. The USSR's entry into World War II against Germany, which resulted in ongoing bombing strikes on Ukraine, made the situation much worse. In addition to the difficulties he faced outside of his control, Chikatilo is thought to have been born with hydrocephalus, which later in life caused him genital urinary tract issues, including bedwetting into his late adolescence, and later the inability to maintain an erection. When his father was conscripted into the fight against Germany, he was taken, held prisoner, and then vilified by his people for allowing himself to be captured when he came home. As a result of his father's cowardice, Chikatilo was the target of bullying at school. Murders. Chikatilo had been seen with the victim just before she vanished, according to an eyewitness, but his wife gave him an unbeatable alibi that allowed him to escape further police investigation. 25-year-old Alexander Kravchenko, who had previously been convicted of rape, was apprehended and confessed to the crime under duress, most likely as a consequence of protracted and severe questioning. He was killed in 1984 after being found guilty of murdering Lena Zakhanova. There were no additional confirmed victims for the next 3 years, maybe as a result of Chikatilo's close call with the authorities. After Chikatilo was let off from his position at the mining school in early 1981 due to allegations of child abuse, he was unable to find another teaching position. He accepted a post as a clerk for a plant that produced raw materials in Rostov, where the role's travel requirements provided him limitless access to a variety of young victims throughout the course of the following 9 years. 17-year-old Larisa Tkachenko was his subsequent victim. To keep her from screaming, Chikatilo gagged her with mud and leaves on September 3, 1981, then strangled and stabbed her. Chikatilo found his sexual liberation via harsh force, and he started to focus his attacks on young runaways of both sexes, before luring them into surrounding forests, where he would assault them, try to rape them, and mutilate them with his knife. He made friends with them at bus and rail stops. He removed other bodily parts, including the tips of their noses or tongues, or ate the sexual organs in a number of instances. In the first cases, the typical pattern was to cause harm to the eye area, often by cutting across the sockets and removing the eyeballs. Chikatilo subsequently said that this behavior was a result of his idea that his victims retained an impression of his face in their eyes long after they had passed away. Serial killings were essentially unheard of in the Soviet Union at the time. In order to maintain public peace, state-controlled media occasionally hid evidence of serial killings or child abuse. Major Mikhail Fedosov, a Moscow investigator, took charge of the inquiry in 1983. He suspected that a serial murderer may be at large and tasked Viktor Burakov, a skilled forensic analyst, with leading the investigation in the Shakhty region. The focus of the inquiry was on known sex offenders and mentally ill individuals, but due to the local police's questioning techniques, Burakov was doubtful of the bulk of these purported confessions. The investigations continued. A psychiatrist was also taken up into the team to help with the investigation. Things continued on, and he kept adding to his body count of his. Chikatilo was detained on November 20, 1990, as a result of more suspicious conduct, but he first resisted confessing to any involvement in the deaths. Anyway, this wraps up our video for today. What do you think about this? Let us know in the comments section down below. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel while you're at it.